Morning, all. All right, so news of the day, and we're going to discuss playoff scenarios and all that other wonderful stuff. And again, just the fact that it's 56 games just throws me off. Used to the 82 game schedule, these shortened seasons. Anyway, so news coming out today that in time for the playoffs, the NHL has decided to relax restrictions for teams that are at least 85% vaccinated. Now, this isn't just the players either. This is 85% of their traveling party, which is limited to 56 people. And it means that there are still protocols in place, but they're relaxed a bit. And I think these are changes that should at least help the morale of the teams that are involved. So, of course, this will only affect American teams right now, not Canadian teams. However, it is being reported that Canadian teams are starting to get access to the vaccine and they're starting to get vaccinated as well. So it will likely be the case that the Canadian teams will be in the same situation. I'll say a month from now, Canadian teams should be in that same situation. And yeah, we'll see where things go from there. But it's nice to hear that players will be able to do that. And of course, for teams that are eliminated from the playoffs, go out and enjoy your summer because it's about a month shorter than it normally would be after you've missed the playoffs. But yeah, so the playoffs are set to begin May 15th. We don't know the matchups yet, but that's the date. So that is a week from today. Plenty of time to get ready for them. And yes, that's before the Canucks season is over, but is it? Is it really? So yeah, the Carolina Hurricanes, this is an interesting point that was made as well yesterday. The last time they won their division was 2005, 2006. So if you want to get really excited as a Canes fan, there you go. They win their division, and the last time they did, they won the Stanley Cup. So the problem is if they also win the President's Trophy, then you've got competing problems here. Where okay, so they won the division, that means they won the cup, right? But they won the President's Trophy, so they can't. And there you go. We'll see. We'll see which one wins, the President's Trophy or the division title. Which one's stronger? So yeah, we'll see if Carolina does end up finishing first overall. PK Subban will be missing the remaining 2 games for New Jersey. He wanted to come back before the end of the season. It's not going to happen. So his season's done. He did have somewhat of a bounce back season from last year. It'll be interesting to see what happens when expansion rolls around. I'm really fascinating. It's going to be really fascinating to see what happens with numerous players as to whether or not they end up on the protected list and who Seattle ends up taking. And I'd throw Subban onto that list of maybes for Seattle, but probably not. It's because of the cost there, but we'll see. Because I don't think New Jersey protects him. I can't see that happening. Boston news. So Boston's got their depth scoring. The interesting thing is Andre Kasha appears to be getting close to a return. He may play this week. They've got games on, I believe it's the 10th and the 11th coming up. So he may play in one of those games or both. He's only played in 2 games this season, and when they picked up Kasha, the idea was that he would be, depth scoring and he'd help them up front, sort of in the way that Nick Ritchie has done for them this year. So if Kasha does end up being able to play, I'd be curious to see which line he ends on. I'm assuming the third line, but it may even be the fourth. I like Kasha. I've liked Kasha for years, but at this point, he's been injured so much. He's missed so much time. I don't know how effective he can be, and I don't know what Boston does with him in the offseason either. So playoffs. The Nashville Predators, all they have to do is win a game. That's all they have to do is win one of their final 2. The thing is, they're both against Carolina. 29, 23, and 2 is their record. Now, Dallas is 22, 18, and 14. Now, that means they have 58 points to the 60 for Nashville. I'm a Dallas fan, and even I look at that and I go, you know what? No. I really hope Nashville wins one of their games or that Dallas loses one of their games. And it's not because of any reason other than I don't like the optics of a team losing that many games in overtime and shootouts and beating out a team that has more wins. Regulation wins, Nashville has 19 to 17 for Dallas. They also have the lead in regulation or overtime wins with 24, and Dallas has 20. Now, if they finish tied, regulation wins is your tiebreaker. And they came up with that last year. That came into effect last year, but we didn't need it because the season got shut down, and they went by points percentage to deciding who made the playoffs because not everybody played the same number of games. Now regulation wins as that tiebreaker has kind of snuck up on people, but it was there last year. In shootouts, Nashville's 5-0, Dallas is 2-6. We can all have the debate at some point in time about extra points in shootouts as well. It becomes kind of a tangled web indeed, but all Nashville has to do is win a single game and they're in out of the last two. And so for Carolina, they kind of control who they play. Really. I mean, they could rest some guys and end up losing to Nashville and go, okay, cool, we play Nashville in the first round. We don't have a problem with that. But they also haven't had that much of a problem with Dallas during the regular season. The thing is, Dallas does have that more recent playoff experience of going to the Stanley Cup final. Might be a tough route in the first round. Maybe it's in Carolina's best interest to drop one of the games against Nashville and ensure they play Nashville instead of Dallas. So there you go. Not saying they're going to, but if they put out a lineup where, 4 or 5 main guys are resting, yeah, wouldn't surprise me entirely. Montreal news. Gallagher looks like he's going to be set to go for the playoffs that again start in 1 week, which is great news for Montreal. Definitely makes a difference when he's out of the lineup. Carey Price, though, his return, they're still not hearing anything on timeline for that. So it may very well be that in a week when the playoffs get started, that Montreal is looking at Jake Allen as their starter, and Allen has had some spotty results, to which any St. Louis fan watching this will go, really? Tell me more. But, all kidding aside, it's been interesting watching the goaltending for Montreal. And if it is Allen that's the starter going into the playoffs, I don't know. I mean, I know there will be people who pick against Toronto because it's Toronto, but I think Toronto would take out Montreal. The returning Gallagher might make a huge difference, but we'll see. For Pittsburgh, they can clinch the division. There's numerous ways, but the easiest way they can clinch it today would be with a regulation win, and if the Caps can't win in regulation. So Boston is still within shooting distance of Pittsburgh, but if Pittsburgh wins the game, because of regulation wins, they have 4 more regulation wins. If they win in regulation, then Boston, and Boston has 3 games left. So Boston could not catch them in regulation wins. And so that's one of 3 different ways. There's ways that involve, if this happens and that happens, and if this airplane is diverted over to Djibouti, and I don't know, they get into all these things. I'm like, just keep it simple. So yeah, for Pittsburgh, I really honestly think they're going to win that division. I'd be kind of surprised if they don't, but that would lead to Pittsburgh and likely the Islanders, Capitals, and Bruins. I'm already starting to think, wow, these are going to be some good playoffs. The Leafs can clinch first place with a point and an Oilers loss of any manner. To which Canucks are going to say, we'll try to beat the Oilers, but it's 2 in a row. Montreal, they can clinch with a win and any kind of loss for Vancouver. So if Vancouver loses and Montreal wins, Montreal's in the playoffs. Also, if they get 1 point against Toronto, so if they have an overtime or shootout loss, and if the Canucks lose in regulation, then it's over. So, just speaking from a personal standpoint, I think it would be best for the league if there was a win by Montreal tonight and some kind of a loss by Vancouver, just so that's done, so we know Montreal's in the playoffs, and guys who are going to be making series previews and doing graphics for the series previews and stuff, that maybe we have a better idea of who's playing who. I just people in general, not anybody specific, just people in general who make YouTube videos and want to do series previews and kind of chomping at the bit to get the series previews started. So yeah, because I do love the Canucks. I'm very happy about the players the Canucks have, and I think next year could be a bounce back season because you kind of have to believe it. You kind of have to. You have to have that hope. Buffalo fans, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I just kind of would like to see that done tonight because they're not going to win out. They're not going to win the rest of their games. So might as well just get this done now, and just that's all pulling off the Band-Aid part. And McDavid might as well get 4 points tonight and get to 100 as well, so that maybe he can get some rest down the stretch as well, because this schedule has been absolutely bonkers. But hey, we got 14 games today, so I've already posted the preview last night for that. So hopefully people who are going to pick their winners have already done so on that video in the comment section. And hey, Let me know your thoughts regarding any of this in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. Playoffs start in a week. I'm anxious about it. I'll talk to you again soon.